Yep, you are reading the title of this video correctly. Someone stole the identity of my car, and I've got a bit of a problem on my hands, and I'm hoping you all can help me fix it. Let's start from the beginning. This past Monday night, I received a letter from the Illinois Tollway in the mail stating that I owed over $250 in tolls in Illinois. Of course, the letter says, open immediately, action required, high priority, time sensitive. I figured, of course, this is probably a scam. Did some more investigating, there's QR codes on there. It is a legit document. So at this point, I'm a bit confused, and I'm a little bit concerned because my car has never been to Illinois. You can see this on camera right here. This is the photo that was on the invoice I received, which is completely useless. So I'm like, well, that looks like that could be my car. So I called the tollway. They confirmed. I'm like, is it a blue Saab 9-3? Because I figured, hey, maybe it's someone else with an Arizona plate or a plate that's one character off of mine and their cameras are reading it wrong and that's why it's getting sent to me. And the lady's like, nope. It's a blue Saab 9-3 with CPR 8779 license plate on it from Arizona. I'm like, this literally makes no sense. And so at this point, I logged in and created an account on the tollway so I could see all these charges and the photos. And this is where things got crazy. Here's kind of the pay invoice homepage. You can see I have a $235 invoice and then also a $22 invoice. And so if I review and pay this is the only way I can see the photos. You can see here are the charges on the latest invoice, but if I hit continue, I can go to my big invoice here and review the images. And look at what happens when you see these photos. So check this out. We have a blue Saab 9-3 with a clearly fake Arizona plate on it that says CPR 8779, the same exact license plate as my car, but someone has recreated it and stuck it on the back of their Saab 9-3 for reasons unknown. So right off the bat, you can see this car is pretty beat, and there are a whole host of photos. I'm not going to go through all 50 of them here, but right off the bat, you can see there's quite a few distinguishing features about this car. So all of these tolls were in the greater Chicago area, so we know that whoever owns this car most likely lives in Chicago somewhere. But there's just a variety of them. These are at all different times of day, all different plazas, which are kind of like the toll entrances from my understanding, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. But this is just absolutely crazy. So I went ahead and made a Facebook post in one of the USA groups, also the Chicago Club, basically saying the following. On this post, I identified some distinguishing features of this specific 9-3, hoping that people could help point me in the direction of a possible owner. This car looks like it's not turned blue, not fusion blue. First off, you can see it has some paint fade on there. It also has some black base model wheels, which you can see in a couple of the photos. It formerly had a Rilla badge on it, with where the Saab badge was actually like a gorilla head. Very goofy and weird looking badges. And actually you can see, if you look closely, we'll kind of zoom in here just for fun. As we go through these photos, pay attention to how many times the badges on the trunk change. Right here we have a Saab badge and a 0. Now we have the Rilla badge and a 9.0T on it. And even before that, if we go back way towards the beginning, there's a few different varieties of different badges that this thing has had on it. It's very odd to see the evolution of the badges over time. You can also see in some of the photos it has red carpet on the rear deck lid with a big subwoofer in there, and it has red tape or some sort of tint or something over the tail light. This outer tail light, you can tell, is just a different tint from the rest of the car. So those are kind of the distinguishing features of this specific car. And again, if you guys see any of this and this car rings a bell, or you've seen it before, or you know who it is, please contact me and let me know. So I want you all to take a look at this map here that my friend created for me, which basically maps out all of the plazas that this individual went through in the Chicago area. So you can pretty clearly tell what their most common route or area of travel is based off that. So it's some really cool data. More importantly though, there's also information I'll put on the screen about how many times this person went through each plaza, so that way you can see which ones were the most common. So this is clearly someone who watches my channel or has watched my channel, because my license plate has of course been on camera for years. I've never thought to cover it because I don't see there being a need of course, unless you're in this some weird, very obscure niche use case, there's not really a reason to hide your plate. So this plate was obviously illegally created or ordered or bought. You can see the letters are smaller than the letters on a standard Arizona plate, and there's also no registration tag in the top right corner. I do have some good information already to go off of, and we'll talk more about what I'm going to do with that information later in a couple minutes here. But before I do that, I do want to talk about how my charges started in mid-May and ended on July 5th. Starting on July 5th, there's another individual who commented on one of my Facebook posts that had his plate stolen. Same exact situation, same exact car, except he owns a Vigan, and his Vigan plate was stolen and illegally recreated and put on this same car, and he's been getting toll invoices ever since. So I have a feeling that we're not the only two that this has happened to. There's probably more people out there, so if this has happened to you as well, please speak up and let me know. It makes me wonder what else this person is hiding though. Is it just a stolen car? Is it the fact that they're a lazy degenerate who just doesn't want to pay for registration? Are they just a dumb troll? Or is it something even worse? And so I don't really have beef with anyone. I think any of you that have met me know that I'm a pretty nice person. At least I like to think of myself as that. And I've never really made any enemies in the Saab community, so I don't know who would have the incentive to do something like this. And so with that in mind, what's next for me? Well, it's really threefold. First off, I need to file an affidavit with the tollway to prove that this isn't my car. I'll talk more about that here in a second. Second off, I need to file a police report. This person, if caught, is facing some serious charges. We'll also talk about that more here in a second. And then thirdly, I'm going to change my plate. So this is my appeal that I made to the Illinois Tollway. I'm not going to read this word for word. I've basically explained all the differences between my car and the car in the photos. I just, to a non-Saab enthusiast, I wanted to point out differences. If I went as deep as a Saab enthusiast, I could have probably listed 20 or 30. The important thing that I want to go through here, though, is these photos, which make it 100% irrefutable that this was my car. So I found 3 separate occasions, and I could find more, I guarantee you, of proof, photos on the same day or same time between photos I took of my car in Arizona and exact time that that car went through a toll in Chicago. As most of you know, my car has been on jack stands for a majority of the time leading up to the owners convention, which is when all of this was supposedly happening. So I have quite a few pictures. So this first one is June 25th. This is me with the car in the background, fuel pump being removed. And then this was taken on June 25th at 7:53 p.m. Here's June 25th at 1:29 p.m. This car going through the tollway. Second one I have here is the day the car broke down in Payson because of my dead fuel pump. This is June 19th in Rio Verde, which is right by Payson, Arizona. 5:48 p.m. It's on the tow truck. You can see my license plate in this photo. And then lastly, June 19th, 4:32 p.m. These photos were taken within about 30 minutes of each other with the time difference. This third one here, June 8th at 10:36 a.m. in Levine, which is part of Phoenix where I live. And then June 8th at 12:45 p.m. These photos were taken within 7 minutes of each other with the time change. And lastly, just to be clear, I included a full-size printout of my license plate and the back of my car in case for some reason they still weren't believing me. I mailed off this affidavit earlier this week, and so they said it could take up to 30 days to hear something. I have no doubt that it's going to be, I guess, whisked away or voided or whatever. Despite people saying the tollway is notoriously difficult to deal with, no one can argue that evidence. So I'm not worried about that, but my next steps are to file a police report. So the tollway recommended starting with Chicago, or I should say Illinois State Police. I called Illinois State Police. They told me to start with Phoenix Police, which makes no sense to me. So I called Phoenix Police. I've started a case with them. I'm waiting to hear back from the policeman who contacted me. I'm going to share all the information I have with him, and we'll see from there. I wanted to get this video out before I have a resolution, just as a PSA in case any of you can help me and provide me with more information. So I did a bit of Googling, because this is kind of the juicy part, right? Like, what happens if this person is caught? I understand that police both in Phoenix and of course in Chicago have bigger fish to fry than some idiot that's stealing license plates from people out of state to avoid paying tolls. And so I looked this up. I said, what is the penalty for having a fake license plate in Illinois? This is just on a lawyer website here. And so these people, you know, with the limited information are given this individual feedback. And so they're saying, just off the top of my head, the possible felonies would include improper registration, UPV, which is a class 4 felony, forgery, and a few misdemeanors. People are also saying this could be document fraud, perjury, identity fraud, obstruction of justice, and a whole lot. So this person is likely looking at multiple felonies, and I'm sure misdemeanors and a whole host of fines as well. And that's not even accounting for the tolls that they owe. So this person is really in some deep crap if they do get caught. This is blurred out on the screen because this is my new paper license plate. None of you will be seeing this anytime in the near future. So I did go to the DMV, get a new paper plate. Granted, the damage is already done, but I figured it might be a good peace of mind, kind of impulse bought this. It was only $25. $25 I shouldn't have had to spend, mind you, and I did kind of like the plate I had, but I'm going to have to blur my plate for now. At least I'm going to try to for the foreseeable future. Not that I don't trust anyone, because clearly I've had my plate on the internet since I started YouTube 8 years ago, and this is just now becoming a problem. But this might be an argument for people who think that you should blur your license plate. I would disagree. I think this is a very niche use case, like I mentioned earlier, and you shouldn't generally need to worry about blurring your plate, because after all, people see it every time you drive down the road in public. But that's all I have for today, guys. This was not the video I was thinking I was going to make or upload this week or weekend. Again, if you have any information, please contact me. My Instagram, email, all of that is in the description box. I appreciate you all so much for watching. Let's bring this idiot to justice so that way he can stop getting away with this kind of BS, because it bothers me that he's messing with other people now, not just myself. So thank you all so much for watching. Content coming on this car very soon that does not involve its identity being stolen. Check out my merchandise, linked at the top of the description if you want to help support the channel some more. And I'll see you all in the next one.